Is this enough, the latest plans to give people cash to take in some Ukrainian refugees? Is it something that you might do yourself?
If I had the room, I would. It's not really suitable, unfortunately. I think it is. I think I've already been contacted by a large number of constituents who are very interested and keen to help. In some people, the government have come into some criticism for being too slow off the mark, because we're insisting on visas for security vetting, whereas the rest of the EU is actually letting people in visa-free without so many checks. However, we are some way away from the borders with Ukraine, and I think what the government's done in its defence is we've been the biggest contributor to humanitarian aid for those migrants to get them sorted when they arrive out of Ukraine, and then they can move on with the paperwork, of course, to the UK.
In saying that, you say there's been criticism being too slow. Do you think the government, maybe in this kind of post-Brexit world, in a thought process that, immigration is still, to some politically toxic thought, that actually taking a tougher line would be more in line with public opinion, when in the end it turned out not to be, that the British public, particularly in this instance, were more generous than the government themselves?
The European Union were more generous, but they didn't really have a choice, because these people were crossing straight over the border from Poland. They were being taken in, and of course, under the Schengen Agreement, once you're into an EU country, you've got the right of movement throughout the whole of the European Union. We are in a different position, but in mitigation, we have given the largest amount of humanitarian aid for the Ukrainian refugees in situ, and some of the countries that those refugees have gone into, like Moldova, is the poorest country in Europe, and they can't afford to look after the migrants who are already in their own country. We are providing that aid, which is much needed. And of course, there is a line either for people to opt to come to the UK, in which case they can be placed in households, or if they've got relatives, they can apply and join their relatives in the UK. I would point out that I'm hoping, and I'm sure most of these refugees are hoping, that they're going to be able to return to Ukraine in the future. And bear in mind that most of them are not full families. They're women with children. They're separated from their other halves, their partners, because they've stayed behind to fight. And I'm sure that one way or another, they need to be put back together again in the future.